Hello and welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint Show. I am your host, Jay Jones. Black Entrepreneur Blueprint was created specifically to educate and inspire Black entrepreneurs to launch, build, and grow successful businesses. Join us as we help build an economic power base in the Black community by promoting business ownership. If you are currently an entrepreneur or want to be an entrepreneur, we invite you to join us every week here at Black Entrepreneur Blueprint.
Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, episode number 351. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and today we have another outstanding and informative show in store for you. Today's show topic is Stop Making Entrepreneurship So Hard. 5 steps to simplify the process. Stop making entrepreneurship so hard. 5 steps to simplify the process. Now, as a serial entrepreneur for 20 plus years and as a business coach, I see this day in and day out, guys. People are making everything about entrepreneurship harder than it is. And I think one of the things that we have to do is start breaking it down into smaller bits or smaller components. A lot of times, new and prospective entrepreneurs always start looking at the massive picture as opposed to breaking things down into different bite-sized bits. And then that way you can focus on the process, which will then take you to become a successful entrepreneur. Now, before we get to today's show, I just want to share a few things with the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint family. If you are a first-time listener, new listener, welcome to Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Welcome to the BEB family. Please stick around until the end of today's show, and I'm going to share all my social media contact information and my resource links, such as the link to my new book, A New Black Wall Street, Circulating the Black Dollar Worldwide by Building Successful E-Commerce Businesses. Also, 2 platforms I've created to help circulate dollars in the worldwide Black economy, BeSmartByBlack.com and HireBlackFreelancers.com, and also my new rebranded, rebooted Black Entrepreneur Blueprint Academy. Now, let's get ready for today's episode. Stop making entrepreneurship so hard. 5 steps to simplify the process. As I mentioned at the outset, guys, I see this all the time with my coaching clients and even people I just speak to over the phone or I come in contact with just in general. And so having the experiences that I've had over the 20 plus years as a serial entrepreneur and as I mentioned as a business coach, there's certain consistencies that I see. And one of the biggest things I think that's holding people back is they overcomplicate being a successful entrepreneur. And today we're going to talk about 5 steps to simplify that process. All right, so number 1, we're going to start off with some basic things. And then I'm going to actually give you a case study. All right. And this is something that I'm working on now. And just to show you how simple it is to get out there and start to be an entrepreneur. Okay. Step number one is identify what you're going to sell. Now, that sounds pretty common, but this is where a lot of people have a major hang up because they can't identify what they want to sell. They have so many different ideas that they can't really come to a decision on, hey, I'm going to sell this or I'm going to sell that. So step number 1, identify what you're going to sell. And remember, guys, there's only 6 things or 6 type of things that you can sell. Your physical products, your digital products, your services. Somebody else's physical products, somebody else's digital products, somebody else's services. There's only 6 type of things that you can sell. So what you might want to do is write down a list. Okay? Your physical products, your digital products, your services, someone else's physical products, someone else's digital products, someone else's services. And when I say someone else's, usually that means somebody else that created the product and maybe you're reselling the product or you're an affiliate for that product and or service. Just to give you an example, I used to do a lot of lead generation for law firms. And so I'm not a lawyer, so I can't practice law, but I can actually sell their services. So I was generating leads for lawyers who would then practice law on the client. So I'm actually selling their service. So I just want to get you guys up to speed with someone else's physical products, digital products, or services. All right, you already know what your physical products, digital products, and services will be. And so there's a lot of thought that goes into what you're going to sell, and I get that, but don't overcomplicate it. Okay, I always talked about minimum viable products, and we're actually going to get to that later on in today's broadcast, but don't get caught up and go too heavy on what you're going to sell. Okay, so write down a list of possible things that you can sell, the pros and cons. You have to look at the pricing. What is it going to cost you to sell this product and or service? And once again, what's the profitability? And we'll get into all of that later in today's show. So step number 1, identify what you're going to sell. And remember, there are only 6 types of things that you can sell. Now, you can be selling multiple things, or you can start off with one thing. So for an example, if you're an accountant, your services as an accountant, you could sell that. If you want to sell a physical product, maybe you have a new book out. Okay, if you want to sell a digital product, maybe you have an online course. Okay, and once again, those apply to somebody else's products too. So you can sell somebody else's physical product. All right, if you do arbitrage on Amazon or on eBay, you go to Walmart, you find a product at a low price at a sale that's normally selling for a higher price. You buy that product, then you go put it on your Amazon in your back office, and now you're selling it on Amazon. That's somebody else's physical product. Now, if you want to sell somebody else's digital product, you can have an affiliate link if somebody has software. You know, I always talked about ClickFunnels, even though I don't use them anymore. I use a different funnel builder. But ClickFunnels is big out there if you want to sell a digital product. So you would get affiliate monies for selling a digital product there. And once again, somebody else's services. So those are only the 6 type of things that you can sell. So the first thing you want to do, sit down, take out a pencil or paper, notepad, and write down the options of the things that you may want to sell. And as we move through the steps, hopefully by the end of today's episode, if you haven't had a product to sell or you don't know what to sell, hopefully you'll have some confirmation after today's episode. Now, this episode is not just for new or prospective entrepreneurs. This is also for current entrepreneurs. So if you're looking for a new product to test out, or you're looking for another revenue stream, this episode is actually great for you also. So it's pretty much good for everybody, new and prospective entrepreneurs and existing entrepreneurs. All right, that was step 1, identify what you're going to sell. Step 2, do people want your product or service? Do people want your product or service? And the reason I ask that is many times as entrepreneurs or creators, we're creating something that we want. It may be a solution to a problem that we have. But remember, you have to understand, do other people want your product or service? Because if they don't, that means you're not going to make any sales. So I mentioned this on the show before, but I have one of my best friends was looking to get into this industry that he was enamored with. And he's spending all this time researching, starting to get into that industry. And what he found out was that industry was a very small or niche industry, and it was very hard for him to find prospective customers. So just because you like something, doesn't mean that other people like it. So step 2, do people want your product or service? Now, the true litmus test is when people go into their pockets and they buy your product or service, okay? That is the true test. Now, focus groups and beta tests, those are great because you'll get feedback. But if you're in a free focus group or you're in a free beta test, it doesn't cost that person in that group any money. So once again, that's not a true litmus test. So once again, you need to make sure that people want your product or service. Okay, you want to test your product or service by trying to sell the minimum viable product. Okay, not a full-blown version, but a minimum viable product. Now, if you go back a couple episodes, I did a whole show on minimum viable products. And I'm actually going to give you guys a case study later at the end of the show that I'm going to show you exactly something that I'm working on right now. But I want to give you a case study for that. Do people want your product or service? All right. Start thinking about that. Is there a market for it? Are people selling similar type products on Amazon, on eBay, or online? Is there a real market for that product or service? Now let's move to step number 3. Step 3 is solidify your pricing and align it with your product or service. Solidify your pricing and align it with your product or service. So based on your product or service pricing, you can have a high-end product, mid-priced, or bargain price. So you have to determine where your product or service fits in on that scale. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you, right? When you go real low bargain pricing, a lot of times that's a race to the bottom. So if you have a physical product, you're probably not going to be able to sell it less than Walmart. All right. So you always want to create value with your product. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. So solidify your pricing and align it with your product or service. And what I mean by aligning it is with your product or service is if you have a high-end product, if you're selling a high-end product, then your packaging, everything about that product needs to be high-end. Okay, if you're selling a bargain product, once again, you may not care about your packaging. All right, so now what you want to do in terms of alignment, I did an episode, and I believe it's episode number 341, and I think that was released on January 25th of this year, 2021. And I talked about product perception, pricing, and profitability, how to make sure that you sell and are more profitable. So we're going to talk about product perception, pricing, and profitability. But check out episode number 341 that goes in depth in this. I'm just going to touch on it. So once again, we're talking about aligning your product or service with your pricing. So your product, obviously determine what your product is. What is the perception? So if you're talking about watches, Gucci or Movado, Tag Heuer, they have a high perception in terms of what people think of those watches. Now, does the price match that perception? Okay, you're not going to sell a Timex with the same price or at the same price that you would sell a Tag Heuer watch, right? Because the perception is that the Gucci and Tag watches are much more quality. So once again, product perception, pricing, and profitability. Remember, now your pricing has to align with your product or service, but your pricing also has to be profitable. So what do you have to price your product at to align it with everything else, with the other 4 Ps? So when you're creating your product or service to sell, you want to make sure that you have built-in profitability. And I see this mistake all the time, especially on low cost or low priced items. So if you have an item that's selling for $10 and it costs you $4 for that item, most people think right off the rip, oh, I sell it for 10, it cost me $4, I made $6. That's not how it happens, guys. Because unless you have a built-in audience, you're going to have to run traffic to that offer. So just say the retail price is $10. You paid $4 for the product, and it costs you $4 to get a sale, driving traffic to your landing page or your website or whatever. So that means you spent $8 to make $10. So really you only profited $2. Is that profitability enough for you to sustain, and not just sustain, but to scale your business? So once again, step number 3, solidify your pricing and align it with your product or service. And the things that have to be aligned are the product, the perception, the pricing, and the profitability. If you're going high end, your product has to match that. You can't have a garbage product and sell it for a high price, because you know what's going to happen. People's expectations aren't going to be met, and you're going to get a lot of negative feedback. Okay. Also, the perception. The perception is something that you create. What's the perception of the product? BMW, the ultimate driving machine. So the perception is that this is a high quality vehicle, right? So you have to control the perception also. The pricing, We just talked about the pricing. The pricing has to be aligned with the product and the perception. And also, you have to worry about your profitability. How profitable are you? Always take into account that you're going to need marketing dollars per unit that you sell to sell that unit. Now, if you have a built-in database or you have a built-in platform, that just, that saves you a whole lot of money. And we're going to talk about that in one of the later steps. So step number 3, solidify your pricing and align it with your product or service. Now let's jump into step number 4, and that's launch your product or service using media. And we're going to delve into media real quick here. So step 4 is basically launch your product or service, but you have to do that using media. And we're going to talk about the 3 types of media. You have owned media, earned media, and paid media. So you'll need to use at least one of these forms of media to launch and sell and test your product. So right now, you're not going hog wild, right? So if you're creating a physical product, you're not ordering 5,000 units from the manufacturer. You may start out with 10 units, 15, 20 units. So right now, what we want to do in step 4, we want to launch your product or service and test it using media. Now, let's talk about how to leverage the 3 types of media for profit. Once again, there's owned media, earned media, and paid media. So let's talk about each form of media first. So owned media. This is something I'm a big proponent about. So owned media is when you leverage a channel or platform that you create and control. It's where you leverage a channel or platform you create and control. This could be your blog, your newsletter, which I'm real big on. If you have a YouTube channel, you don't have full control with YouTube because you can get shut down. Your website, even your Facebook page. Once again, you don't have full control with Facebook. So even though you don't strictly own your YouTube and Facebook pages, you do control the content as long as you follow the terms of service. So that's owned media. That's something that you own, okay, and control. Earned media. Earned media is when customers, the press, or the public share your content, speak about your brand via word of mouth, and otherwise discuss your brand. In other words, the mentions are earned, meaning that they're voluntarily given by others. Earned media is free media, okay? It's when customers, the press, or the public share your content, speak about your brand via word of mouth, and otherwise discuss your brand. So that's earned media. And the last is paid media. So when you pay to leverage a third-party channel, like if you're paying for Facebook ads, YouTube ads, paying to advertise on Instagram, you're paying to get shout-outs, whatever, that's paid media. So you have owned media, which you own, earned media, which is basically people sharing your content, and paid media is media that you pay for. So step 4, you want to launch your product or service using one or multiple or more of these types of media platforms. And what you want to do, guys, when you do this is you are testing. Okay. And it's as simple as creating a landing page. Matter of fact, let me roll that back. This is how simple it could be. So say you have a new physical product that you want to test. Once again, if you're getting it from a manufacturer, only buy, minimal units, 5, 10, 20, whatever. All right. And that's a whole nother topic, but we're just going to assume that you have a minimum amount of units so you can test. You never want to have a new product or service, and you never want to have a large inventory amount because you don't know if that product or service is going to move. So you start off with a small amount. A simple way to test something is you can sell or put a link on Facebook, Instagram, click the link in the bio to order this product, whatever, and just have a landing page. And to keep it simple, you could have a PayPal link. So I'm sitting here right now in my office and I'm looking at this tape measure. So I'm going to use that as an example. So if I wanted to sell these new super tape measures, I'll take a picture of the tape measure. I'll create a landing page, which could be a WordPress page. You could use lead pages, ClickFunnels, whatever you want to use. Put the pictures of the product up there, description up there. Don't worry about all the funnels and everything like that. And then you could have a PayPal link for whatever the product costs. Say this super tape measure costs $19.99. So I'll create a PayPal link with my PayPal account. Now I have images, a description of the product, and a PayPal link. And I'm starting to run traffic. Either I can, use my current, followers on my Facebook page, or I can do paid traffic, sending people to that very simple test page to see if anybody buys. And remember, the true litmus test is if people go in their pocket and spend money. Now, we're not going to get into, how the ad looks, the way you need to create the ad, because that's a whole singular topic by itself. But you want to launch your product or service and see if people buy it. Now, before you launch it, you might want to do a focus group or beta group or something like that. Let people test it out. They're going to give you feedback, and we'll talk about that in the next step. But step 4, launch your product or service minimally. Don't go crazy. And I'm going to give you a case study of something I'm working on right now, and I'm going to tell you how I'm about to launch this test on a new product that I'm trying to sell. So that's step number 4. All right. So let's look at these steps real quick. Step 1 was identify what you're going to sell, what product or service you're going to sell. Step 2, do people want your product or service? Step 3, solidify your pricing and align it with your product or service. Step 4, launch your product or service using at least one type of media, owned media, earned media, and or paid media. And step number 5 is monitor the results of the test. Monitor the results of the test. What did you learn from the test, and how can you implement the feedback to increase your sales? What did you learn from the test, and how can you implement the feedback? So the feedback for my tape measure might be, you know what? I spent $100 running traffic to that landing page and nobody bought it. Now, something could be wrong with my ad. It could be my headline. It could be my call to action. So those are things you have to look at too. Or it could just be a bad product or service that nobody really wants. So there's different things that you have to look at in terms of your feedback. Okay, so what is the feedback? So if people bought it, great. That means that it's good. Now, you still want to reach out to those people after a while who purchased the product and see what type of feedback that they have. So we always talk about on the show social proof, right? So social proof is when you go on Amazon and look at a product and it has 5-star reviews and it has 1,000 reviews. Okay, so that means that out of these people that left reviews, the majority of them are positive. So that's social proof. So that's something, once your product or service gets up and running, that you're going to need to provide to help solidify those sales. But step number 5 is monitor the results of the test. What did you learn from the test? And how can you implement what you learned from the test? So if you only sold 2 or 3 of the actual products that you're selling, maybe it's the pricing. And once again, that's a whole different show and a whole different episode. The way you craft your offer with the headline, the pricing, and everything about it, and the social proof. So just go along with me on this, because like I said, that could be another 45-minute show into and of itself. So right now we have step 1, identify what you're going to sell. Step 2, do people want your product or service? Step 3, solidify your pricing and align it with your product or service. Step 4, launch your product or service and test it. And step 5, monitor the results of your test. Now, before I give you guys my case study, and this is something that I'm actually working on literally right now, so I haven't tested it yet, but I'm in the process, but I'm actually going to give you a case study of a new product I'm working on right now. But before we get to that point, guys, the last part of the show, I just want to share all my social media contact information and my resource links. So at the top of the show, guys, I mentioned my new book, A New Black Wall Street, Circulating the Black Dollar Worldwide by Building Successful E-Commerce Businesses. So if you're interested in building a successful, sustainable e-commerce business, go to anewblackwallstreet.com, pick yourself up a copy, print version $14.95, digital version $9.95. Now, if you have an additional assistance or need additional assistance building your successful, sustainable e-commerce business, My new flagship course is out, Brand Builder Academy Elite, which is a flagship and pound for pound my best course. It's a 14-week implementation program that takes you from start to finish, point A to Z, in terms of developing and building a successful e-commerce brand, physical products brand, or digital products brand. You can go to bbaelite.com, bbaelite.com, and use the coupon code BBAELITE100 to save $100 off the program. So that's Brand Builder Academy Elite. Also, I mentioned at the top of the show, guys, my new rebranded, rebooted Black Entrepreneur Blueprint Academy. So all of my online trainings and courses, everything that you need to build and scale your business are in the BEB Academy. So go to bebacademy.com. Once again, guys, you have 5 days totally free access to play around in the academy, take any of the trainings or any of the courses for 5 days totally free. You have absolutely nothing to lose, so you can try it before you invest in it. Okay? Now, I also mentioned at the top of the show my 2 online platforms that help circulate dollars in the worldwide black economy. The first one is BeSmartByBlack.com. So if you are a black product producer looking to sell your products to black consumers worldwide, upload your information to BeSmartByBlack.com. It is free. And now you can connect with black consumers that are looking to purchase products from black producers all over the world. So that's BeSmartByBlack.com. Also, I didn't forget about you freelancers. So if you do anything on Fiverr.com or Freelancer.com, I created a site, HireBlackFreelancers.com, HIRE blackfreelancers.com. Same concept. It is free, guys. Upload your contact information and connect with black consumers and black businesses that want to hire black freelancers. Also, I do want to give you an update, guys. If you ordered my book, Message to the Black Entrepreneur, that should be coming out within the next 2 weeks. So once again, we had some technical difficulties with the pages there from the printer. And so we're working on that. So please bear with me, and I appreciate your patience. Now, all of this information, guys, you can go to bebconnect.com. That's a page on my website, bebconnect.com. It'll have all my resource links and the social media contact information I'm about to give you right now. So anything long, family, make sure you hit me on my email, all right? Because I get these DMs, man, that are crazy long. Shoot me on my email, anything long, and that's jjones@blackentrepreneurblueprint.com. Every time I say J Jones, it's JAYJONES at blackentrepreneurblueprint.com. Facebook, Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Twitter, JJones001. Instagram, JJones4Real. That's JAYJONES, the number 4, REAL. Also have a separate Instagram, Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, so you can check that out also. YouTube, please subscribe, guys, to the YouTube channel. I have additional content on YouTube that is not on the show. Yes, the show does come out on YouTube, but just go to YouTube, type in Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, and hit that subscribe button. Also, LinkedIn. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Just look or search for J Jones, Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Link up with me there. Also, Clubhouse. If you're on Clubhouse, link up with me there. I'm at I am J Jones, at I am J Jones on Clubhouse. And also, if you want to be connected to the BEB text line for reminders about special events, text BEB to 555-888. BEB to 555-888. Once again, guys, all of this information I just gave you is at bebconnect.com, bebconnect.com. We're going to make this a whole lot easier for you guys, too. Working on this amazing new website that should be dropping in about a month or so. And all you're going to have to do is just go to blackentrepreneurblueprint.com or BEB Connect. And it's going to take you through a personalized journey of the website. And it's going to direct you to resources and information that are going to help you specifically on topics and subjects that you need help on. Also, guys, before I forget too, I had talked about in step number 4, launch your product or service using media. being owned media, earned media, and paid media. And I did a show called $1 Million Newsletter, and I also did a training. So if you're interested in learning how to create a platform, the easiest way I know how to build a platform where you don't have to create content, but you're building a platform and building a database, go to $1,000,000newsletter.com. $1,000,000newsletter.com. That was a live training I did, which was for $97, but the replay and the workbook is only $47. Check it out, $1,000,000newsletter.com. So as I mentioned in step 4, using your own media or owned media, that's a platform or platforms that you own. And literally, guys, that is the cheapest way to sell your products and or services. So if you own your own platform. So here at Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, when I come out with products and services that the BEB family tells me that they want, it's free for me to talk about them because I own the platform. So just think in that example that I gave you earlier about the $10 product that costs $4 and then I'm selling it, but then I had to pay $4 extra for advertising. Just imagine if you can take the advertising cost out of any product or service that you're selling. That's what owned media does. So every time that you're paying somebody to run ads, you're paying somebody else. You're on somebody else's platform. If you create your own platform or platforms, then all you're doing now is putting that information on your platform to the people that already listen to you or follow you. That's why I talk about the newsletters, guys. It's very simple. So if you're into Porsches, create a Porsche newsletter, and you can go check out $1,000,000newsletter.com. I also did an episode on that. And so once again, guys, we're talking about the 3 different types of media. All right. So you have owned media, which you own, earned media, which are basically sharing and referrals or news organizations picking up your stories or something like that. And then you have paid media. Owned media and earned media are the best. Owned media, you control it. So anytime you want to put content out, guess what? You own it. So don't sleep on that. All right. Now, let me give you guys a case study of a product that I'm working on right now. And I'm just going to use these same simple steps, these same 5 steps that we talked about earlier in today's show. So step number 1, identify what you're going to sell. And so my wife and my daughters are hell-bent on this sea moss right now. So supposedly a superfood, and we all use it in our shakes and smoothies and all of that good stuff. So my wife usually gets it from this store. You got to put it in water, clean it off, and then you turn it into a gel. And then you by blending it and all that type of stuff. I don't even know how she does it. But all I know, people are going crazy for it. So step number 1, identify what you're going to sell. All right, so I'm going to sell sea moss. Now, let me tell you what I did, and let me show you guys how simple it is to test something. So I go online, I go on Alibaba, and like I always tell you guys, get samples from multiple companies. So I got samples from 3 different sea moss companies. The one I picked was in Vietnam, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. So since we use sea moss all the time, I said, you know what? Let me just go buy 10 kilograms from this company in Vietnam. And those are the ones that we like the best after we sampled them from 3 different companies. And I figured, guess what? If I don't sell it, we can still use it ourselves. So I go and purchase these 10 keys. And all in, I believe, with the shipping, it was $265. And literally the shipping costs more than the product. Now, in addition to that, I got samples from 3 companies. So you got to figure, I think that was about $30 a piece. Just say $100 with the shipping when I got those small samples. So say I'm in $365. And this is what I'm talking about, guys, in terms of stop making entrepreneurship so hard. It's $365. Now, either it's going to work or it's not going to work. But for me, the worst case scenario is if it doesn't work, we're going to use the product anyway. And so step number 1, identify what you're going to sell. Step number 2, in this case study, do people want the product or service? And the answer is yeah, hell yeah. So if you go on Amazon and just Google CMOS, you're going to see it being sold all over the place. And one of the questions probably is, if it's so competitive, how are you going to sell yours or cut through the noise? And I'll talk about that in a little bit. All right, so step 2, do people want your product or service? Yes, it's in high demand. Step 3, solidify your pricing and align it with your product or service. Is it going to be high end, mid-level, or low end? So I'm going to be in the high end range based on my product perception, pricing, and profitability. All right, so here's something that I found out with CMOS, right? So a lot of the CMOS that you get, there's usually 10% moisture and 35% moisture, right? So what happens is, let's take an example of a shirt. Say you have a wet shirt and you have a dry shirt. What shirt is going to weigh more? The wet shirt, right? So here's one of the things that I thought about, and this is something I found out. So what I did was I ordered the 10% moisture CMOS versus the 35% moisture CMOS. And a lot of times what you'll see, and even my suppliers told me, we call that in the United States garbage CMOS if it has 35% moisture. My CMOS is sun dried. So when I get it in, my 10 keys came in, they were hard. Versus if you go to a store, a lot of times the CMOS is going to be a little squishy and pliable. So here's the benefit of the sun-dried CMOS. And remember, we're talking about solidifying your pricing and align it with your product or service. So the normal CMOS my wife usually buys 4 ounce bags, and that may make 1 jar of the gel. All right, now that CMOS it's a higher moisture content than my sun-dried CMOS. So I weighed 4 ounces of my sun-dried CMOS, and my wife went and did her thing, washed it out, the mix and all that stuff, and she made 3.5 more times gel than the other 4 ounce CMOS because my CMOS was dry versus the wet CMOS. Once again, what weighs more, a regular t-shirt or the same t-shirt that's wet? So when you're buying the wetter, that has the CMOS that has more moisture, you're not getting as much of the CMOS. You're getting that moisture, the weight of the moisture along with it. So when you're buying my CMOS, my 4 ounces is going to give you 3.5 more times of finished product than that other CMOS. So I'm going to price mine at the higher end. And we're talking about step 3, solidify your pricing and align it with your product or service. Okay, so because I'm going to mention that and highlight that when I talk about selling my product on the sales page, then I'm going to let people know, and I'm even going to do a diagram. I'm actually going to have my wife process, the other company that she uses and our brand. Okay, and you'll see the difference in the output. Okay, so now we're going to price it at the higher end. All right, step number 4, right? Launch your product or service using media, own media, earned media, paid media, whatever, and determine the type of media you're going to use, and then find out what's going on with that. So I'm going to use, to start off, I'm going to use paid media because that's the most expensive media. So I know if I can be successful with paid media, earned media, and owned media, which are free, is just going to make my product more profitable. So I'm going to start off with paid media. So right now I'm in the process of creating a landing page. And it's a 1-page sales page, and it's going to have everything on it. Images, it's going to have my ad copy, it's going to have my sale buttons, my PayPal buttons on there. I might just throw it on one of my Shopify, not the store, but Shopify has buttons like product pay buttons. So I can add a product and put that individual product on a landing page. Somebody can click it, bam, and they can buy it. So I'm going to test it just like that. So step 4, I'm going to launch the product using paid media. And once again, that's the worst form or the most expensive form of media. I'm not going to say worst, than owned media and earned media. So if I'm selling my 4 ounces of sea moss for $29.95 because my super sea moss is sun dried, it provides you 3 times more of the actual finished product than a comparable 4-ounce bag, I'm selling it at the higher end. Okay, and on that sales page, I'm going to do and show you everything that you need to help solidify that sale. So I'm going to give you some social proof. I'm also going to give you images, quality, high res images, and I'm going to have great ad copy. So that's step number 4, launch your product or service and test it. Step number 5, monitor the results of your test. What are the results of the test? You want to monitor those results. And then based on how that test goes, and once again, the ultimate litmus test is, are they reaching in their pocket to buy this product or service? Are they reaching in their pockets to buy the product or service? And also look at this too, guys. Packaging. Okay. I'm starting off with a regular brown package bag, and I think they cost me 10 cents a piece. And I'm just using stickers on the bag instead of going and getting produced, these plastic bags that are printed, which are going to cost me about 80 cents a bag. Remember, I'm in the testing phase. I'm not going to go hog wild. If I can sell with a bag with stickers on it, I damn sure know I'm going to be able to sell with a nice professionally printed bag, 4-ounce pack. All right. And it's one of those bags that has the hole, not the hole, but the in the middle you can see it. So it has a clear front so you can actually see the sea moss in it. And then it'll have the sticker with my brand on it, which I'm still trying to figure out a name. Not trademarking the brand name or anything yet because I don't know if this thing is going to sell for me. So once again, it's all testing. Now I'm going to research some brand names and I'll pick a name that I can trademark successfully, but I'm not going to do it until the product sells. So this is why I talk about stop making entrepreneurship so hard. And I'm giving you these 5 steps to simplify the process. And so once again, step number 5 with my case study is I'm going to monitor the results. If I don't see the results that I like right away, I may tweak the headline. I may tweak the price. I may change a few things. And whenever you're changing something, guys, you only change one variable at a time because that's the only way you're going to know how much impact that change has. So if I change the headline and the price and now I start selling, I don't know if it was the headline that affected it or the price that affected it and at what percentage did it affect, the overall sales. So when you're tweaking an ad, always tweak one component at a time. So I may change the headline, keep running the ads for 3 days, see what the results are. Okay, the other headline was better. Let me go back to that first headline. Now, let me bring down the price a little bit. Maybe I'll drop it $2. I'll run that for 3 days. Let me see the results. Oh man, this is really selling. So now I found the right combination of the headline and also the price. So these are just some tips that you need to take into account when you're doing this. So once again, guys, with this case study, and I'll let you know how it goes. I'm about to, this is coming out Monday, the beginning of April. And so by the time this comes out, I should have some feedback for you. And I'll make sure on one of the later episodes that I'll give you the feedback on this. Just to recap real quick, guys. Today's show topic, stop making entrepreneurship so hard. 5 steps to simplify the process. And so before you're bringing out a new product or service to your business, I say this all the time, you got to test it. Test. So all you current entrepreneurs, if you're trying something new, you want to add a product to your mix or service, use these same 5 steps. If you're a new entrepreneur or prospective entrepreneur, use these same 5 steps. And real quick, step number 1, identify what you're going to sell. Remember, there are only 6 types of things that you can sell. Your physical product, your digital product, your services. Someone else's physical products, someone else's digital products, somebody else's services. Step number 2, do people want your product or service? Remember, just because you like something or want something doesn't mean that the general public or your market will want it. So there's so many major companies that test products, and they'll take products off the shelf because, once again, they tested something. You know what? The public isn't responding. Let's get rid of that. So step 2, do people want your product or service? Step 3, solidify your pricing and align it with your product and service. Are you a high-end, mid-priced, or bargain price product? And remember, the 4 P's: product perception, pricing, and profitability. Product perception, pricing, and profitability. All of those have to be aligned. Your product, your perception of the product, and the pricing of a product must be aligned. The profitability obviously is important because is it profitable for you to sell it? So if you have a high-end product, or if you're selling it as a high-end product, make sure the product is high-end. The perception of that product has to be high-end, and the pricing of that product has to be aligned with the price, with the product and the perception. And once again, you always want to be profitable. Step number 4, launch your product or service using one or more of the 3 types of media: owned media, earned media, and paid media. Owned media is media and platforms that you own and control. Your website, your newsletter, your blog, whatever. Earned media, basically, those are shares. So when a customer, the press, or the public share your content, speaks about your content with word of mouth, or discusses your brand. So owned media and earned media are free. And the last type of media is paid media. That's when you're paying for ads. Facebook, Instagram, wherever you want. That's what paid media is. And step number 5, guys, monitor the results of your test. Monitor those results and then implement what you learn from the feedback. Oh, this price is too high. Okay. All right. Maybe I need to drop the price. Oh, man, I don't think I want to buy it because it seems too good to be true. So make sure everything is aligned. So hopefully you guys got something out of today's episode, and stop making entrepreneurship so hard, family. These 5 steps are going to help you simplify the process for new entrepreneurs and current entrepreneurs that are looking to launch new products and or services to their customers. Once again, guys, as we close on out, make sure you link up with me. Go to bebconnect.com to get all my resource links and all my social media contacts. Please link up with me. I try to respond as fast as possible via email and social media. Also, guys, if you're a new listener, I know all my longtime listeners have heard this, but I say this each and every week. We're the number 1 downloaded Black entrepreneur podcast in the world. Actually, we are in the top 6% of downloads in the United States in all categories, and I attribute that all to the BEB family, guys. I couldn't do it without you guys. If I didn't get the response and people reaching out to me, I would have stopped this a long time ago, even though I do it for cathartic reasons and I do it for the community. If the community wasn't responding, I wouldn't do it. I'm going to be quite honest with you. But you guys show me nothing but love and respect, and I appreciate that. And my whole objective, guys, is to build an economic power base in the Black community. It's about a movement. It's not about Jay Jones. It's not about you individually. It's about the collective. It's about building that economic power base in the worldwide Black economy so we can affect change that we need. Political change, social change, educating our kids, taking care of our families. And to me, entrepreneurship is the way to do it. When you control your own money, you control your own destiny, and you're not beholden to anybody else. So how many people are doing things right now or going to a job right now just because of the money and the paycheck? It's called pacified by a paycheck, right? And I know, trust me, I've been there, done it. I've had to do it before. But when you can free yourself and do what God intended you to do and make money from your genius, which is the intersection of your passion and your talent, then that's truly where everybody should aspire to be, guys. So please make sure you share, spread the word about the podcast, the blog, and the movement. Once again, family, it's not about me. It's not about you. It's about us. Love you guys. See you same time next week. Peace.